This is part 60 of ASP.NET MVC tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss the advantage of using _ViewStart.cs HTML file. Please watch part 59 before proceeding. We'll be working with the same example that we started in part 59. In part 59, we discussed that to associate a view with a layout file, we have to set layout property on each and every view. If you recollect from the previous session, we associated this layout file with the index view, and to do that, we have to set the layout property. And similarly, on the edit view, we have set the layout property. Now at the moment, if you notice, when we navigate to create view, look at that, the layout view is not associated with this create view. And if I have to associate this view with that layout file, I have to specify layout property on this view as well. So we have to repeat that on each and every view. Just imagine if I have 200 views, how much effort it is going to involve. Okay, so obviously, first of all, repeating code violates dry principle, that is, don't repeat yourself. And violating this principle has two disadvantages. One, it leads to redundant code, and redundant code obviously leads to maintenance overhead. For example, tomorrow if we have to use a different layout file, then all the new views need to be updated. So in each and every view, we have to go and update this layout property to use a different layout file. Okay, so how do we solve this issue? To solve this, we have this _ViewStart.cs HTML file. This is introduced in ASP.NET MVC3. We can specify the layout property once in this file and then place that file within views folder. So notice that I have this _ViewStart.cs HTML file here. Within that, we are going to specify layout property just like this, and then we are going to place that within the views folder, and then all the views within that folder are going to make use of the layout file that is specified in that ViewStart file. Okay, so obviously this ViewStart file eliminates the need to specify layout property on each and every view, and it makes our views more cleaner because we have less code there, and they're also more maintainable now. Okay, now there might be scenarios where we want a set of views in a specific folder to use a different layout file. For example, look at this home folder. Now let's say all the views within the home folder, I want those views to use another layout file. Okay, not the one _layout.cs HTML, but have another layout file. I want those views to use that layout file. If that's the case, I can have another ViewStart file within that folder, and then we can specify the layout file that we want to use within that ViewStart file. So obviously this ViewStart file is going to override the settings that are defined in this ViewStart file that's present in the views directory. Okay, so let's actually look at that in action. So at the moment, these views, create view, details view, and delete view, they are not using our layout file. Let's see how to use _ViewStart.cs HTML file. So I'm going to add a view, and let's call it _ViewStart. Let's click add. So this should add _ViewStart.cs HTML. Now all I'm going to have here is the layout property. So I'm going to specify the layout property. So I'm just simply going to copy it from the index view. Okay, so now since we have specified the layout property in this _ViewStart.cs HTML file, every view within this views folder is going to use the layout file that we have specified in this file. So now when we actually navigate to create view, you should notice that it has to actually use that layout file. Okay, so create view is using that. Similarly, edit view is still using it, details view is using it, and delete view is also using it. So all the views will continue to use the layout file that we have specified here. Alright, now when I use _ViewStart.cs HTML file, can I still set layout property on individual views using the layout property? Now if you remember, in every view, for example, if you look at the index view, there's a layout property. Okay, now we have specified a layout file in this ViewStart file. in spite of having that specified, can I still set this layout property? Absolutely. If you set that, it is going to overwrite the layout file that we have specified in this ViewStart. Let's actually look at that in action. So let's quickly add another layout file to the shared folder, and let's call it actually different layout. Let's click add. So that should add underscore different layout.cshtml. And let's use an h3 tag here to specify that this is a different layout file, and after that we want to render body. Alright, so we have another layout file. Now look at this. If I go to the index view and specify, alright, I want to use this different layout file instead of layout.cshtml. Now if you remember, in our view start file we have specified, for all the views within this folder we want to use underscore layout.cshtml, but within the index view we have overridden that using layout property. So I don't want to use this layout file underscore layout.cshtml, instead use underscore different layout file. Okay, so let's save everything and let's navigate to our index view once again. So I'll refresh that. So we have made the change to index view, and it shouldn't use this layout file. Look at that, it's now using a different layout file. Okay, so the answer is yes, you can still use the layout property on individual views, and we especially use that if we want a specific view to use a different layout file than what is specified in underscore viewstart.cshtml file. Alright, so at the moment we know two places where we can specify the layout file. One is within the view itself, using the layout property. The other one is using the ViewStart file. Apart from these two, is there anywhere else I can specify a layout file? Absolutely, there are two more places. You can specify that in a controller action method or in an action filter. We'll discuss action filters in a later video session, but how can we specify a layout file in a controller action method? Notice that when we invoke this return view function, we can also specify the layout file that we want to use. At the moment, if you, for example, if we navigate to create view, look at this, it's using the layout file. But let's say we want to use a different layout file, then what we can do within the home controller, so obviously we have this create controller action method which is returning a view. Since we didn't specify the name of the view, by default it's going to use a view that is named create. Okay, but let's actually hard code the name. So I'm going to use this version of view function which actually takes the name of the view and the name of the master, that is the layout file to use, and both of them are of type string. So the name of the view is going to be create, and the master view file that I want to use, that's the layout file that I want to use, is different layout file. So let's copy the name underscore different layout and then pass that here. Let's build the solution and let's navigate to so we are on the create view, so let's refresh this. So when we refresh this, it should be using a different layout file, because in our controller action method that's what we have specified. So this is again going to override that. Alright, can we write some logic in ViewStart.cshtml to dynamically specify which layout file to use? At the moment, if you notice our ViewStart file, we have simply specified the layout file is going to be layout.cshtml. Now, can I write some logic here? For example, let's say if the browser that I'm using is Google Chrome, then use this layout file. But if it's any other browser apart from Google Chrome, let's say we want to use different layout file, can we dynamically select layout files that I want to use? Absolutely. So how do I do that? So I'm writing an expression here. Look at that. For example, what are we doing? We are writing an expression here. This expression is going to return true or false. If that returns true, it's going to use layout file. On the other hand, if that expression returns false, then we are going to use a different layout file. And look at what is this doing here. we are using this request.browser, so this browser property is going to return the browser object, and then on that object we are calling is browser and then passing the name of the browser, here Google Chrome. Is that browser Google Chrome? If yes, it's going to return true, in which case use the layout file, otherwise use a different layout file. Okay, and to speed things up, I have this code already typed, so let me copy that and put it in our ViewStart file. Okay, so let's build. Let's save everything and let's navigate to at the moment our edit view should be using, so look at that, this edit view in the ViewStart file we have specified use basically layout.cshtml, because notice that at the moment we are using Google Chrome and we have specified this condition, if the browser is Google Chrome, then use the layout file. On the other hand, let's actually use Internet Explorer, and then let's actually navigate to the same URL. And since this is Internet Explorer, it has to use a different layout file, but it's not. Why is that? That's basically because if you remember, we have hard-coded whatever we have specified. We are overwriting whatever we have specified in this ViewStart file within the edit view. So in the edit view, we have specified the layout property. So this is going to override what is specified in ViewStart. So I need to get rid of this one if I want to respect what we have in ViewStart. Okay, so let's save everything, and now let's refresh this. So now it should be using a different layout file. So depending on the browser, it's actually selecting which view file to use. Alright. So all partial views in my application are now using the layout file specified in viewstart.cshtml. How do I prevent these partial views from using a layout file? So partial views are not like regular views. We don't want them to be using the layout files, but for some reason the partial views are still going to use the layout files. Let's see how to prevent that. At the moment we have this details action method. Okay, let's first add this underscore employee partial view. Now let's actually navigate to details view. So this details view is showing the details of a specific employee. So let's actually go there and let's copy this code and extract that into a partial view. And how do we do that? On the home folder, add a view, and let's call it maybe underscore employee, and we want to create this as a partial view. We want to create a strongly typed view against employee class, and let's add that. So the model for this view is going to be employee, and we have pasted this code. So we have a partial view here. Okay, so let's build this. Now if you look at the details action method within the home controller at the moment, so if you look at this details action method, let's make this simple. Okay, so if you look at this code, we are simply saying return view and passing the model object, that's the employee object, to this view. So, and we haven't specified the name of the view. So since we haven't specified the name of the view, this action method is going to look for a view that is named after that method. So it's going to look for a view with name details within the home folder. So is there a view? Absolutely. So it's going to use that view. So at the moment, if I build this, and then if I refresh this, it is still going to use the details view, and that details view is using the layout file that we have specified in ViewStart file, which makes sense. But let's actually rename this details view to one detail. So obviously we don't have a view that matches the name of this action method. So now if we refresh this, what's going to happen? It's going to throw an exception. Why? Because there's no details view. But what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to use a view function where we can specify the name of the view and the model object. Now I want to return a partial view. So underscore employee is our partial view. So that's what I want to return. So now we are not using a regular view, we are using a partial view. So this code now matches with what we have here. So a partial view is being returned, but you will notice that in a bit, it is going to use the layout file that we have specified in our ViewStart file, and we don't want that to happen for partial views. Okay, look at that. This partial view is still using the same layout file that we have specified in ViewStart. Okay, so how do we prevent that from happening? It's very simple. All we have to do is, we know that this underscore employee is a partial view, so make the return type of your controller action method partial view result instead of action result, and then return partial view. Okay, instead of view, return partial view. So that is going to prevent the partial view from using the layout file that is specified in underscore viewstart.cshtml. Okay, so what's the change that we have to do? First of all, instead of action result, we want to return partial view result, and I'm going to return a partial view. Okay, let's build that, and let's refresh this. So now it should not use any layout file. It should simply return that partial view, and that's what we see there. Alright, now what will be the layout file extension? If VB.NET is my programming language, obviously it will be .vb.html. It is not any different from the file extension that we have got for regular views and partial views. Alright, in our next video we'll discuss using named sections in a layout file. On this slide you can find resources for ASP.NET, C# and SQL Server interview questions. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.